Yes, another really creative and in-depth Primarch video graces the YouTube algorithm. Everybody say thank you, Connor, because you can tell this is a lot of effort. No, jokes aside, yes, talking about Primarchs, but more specifically, there was a common question and like a common influx of the same question being seen in the 40K, ask lore. And again, I'm not complaining. I like when people ask questions, and I think it's all fine and well because a lot of people, because there's a lot of new 40K media being put out there, whether that's Warhammer Plus animation, Space Marine 2 just released and probably going to get that soon. And let's say, Inquisitor, the 40K game by Owlcat that got released. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. There's a lot of Warhammer stuff always being purported and getting pushed out in one way or another. So new people are obviously inclined to check it out and get interested in it. And they check out YouTube, Reddit, and they get all their information from there. But that unfortunately leads to questions that are either easily looked up, and this is me I am kind of being a little bit of an asshole, or C, B, or I don't know how to speak the English language. People who probably know the answer but just want to ask again for any reason. Maybe they just want to engage in some discussion or discourse, or they're purposely trying to piss people off. But then it kind of leads to the same influx of, can Primarch A be redeemed? Can Primarch C come back to the Emperor? Is he secretly loyal? No. And you should not ever want any of the Traitor Primarchs to be loyal again or to be redeemed. I think not the right way to go about things. Let me tell you the Connor way to go about things, right? So it's nice in theory to maybe have a headcanon where you're like, oh, maybe Magnus remembers longingly of the days of the Great Crusade and he misses the close, relationships he had with his brothers, or who knows, let's say maybe Mortarion is thinking about how everything could have gone if he had done stuff differently. I think that's fine, but if you want other Primarchs who are traitors to be loyal, maybe I would recommend you probably go read some alternative Horus Heresy fan fiction where another Primarch takes the place and it's a kind of an inverse situation. You might like that, and some of them are really good, and the artwork is really good that accompanies those stories. I'm personally a big fan of the Lionel Heresy. I think that's really cool. But that being said again, you should not want these characters to be redeemed. And a lot of people think, or they go to the one excerpt of when Mortarion and Guilliman are having this conflict, and Guilliman gets hit with Godblight, but then the Emperor pulls up and says, "My son," and he kind of like possesses him, and then there's this little spiel where he goes on about saying Mortarion can be saved, or he'll be saved one day. And I think a lot of people interpret this as, oh, he's gonna go join the Imperium again. He'll get cleansed of his Nurgle enslavement. No, that's not gonna work. There's a huge difference between the Primarchs we see in 30K and in Heresy and the Siege of Terra than modern day Traitor Primarchs, all right? Those Primarchs were still alive, still succumbing to chaos, but were still pretty much mortal vessels and were still their own person. After the siege and after everything, after they all get, murdered or destroyed in one way or another, and they go through their, ascension in one way or another, they cease to be the characters you remember, all right? They are not living, or if they are, merely as vessels, not as actual physical beings anymore. They're more tied to the immaterium. So what I'm saying is, these are not the same characters. Magnus doesn't want to get redeemed, no matter how many of his good shards you bring back. Half of him is really comprised of Tzeentch anyway. Mortarion won't come back either because he, again, is basically just a reflection of Nurgle. Sure, he still has some of his own previous thoughts from the Siege and Terra, but these Primarchs are echoes of what they used to be. They are echoes of the Siege, of the warrior, minor warp beings that they were. They're just echoes. They're not the same character. Each one is a reflection and a physical vessel for their respective god. This includes like Logar and Perturabo, even though a lot of people like to think and like to kind of meme him as using chaos, and he's too smart to succumb to chaos. And I think we're well past that point, and he is in fact ascended, and he is unfortunately, in his mind, probably compromising, and he is not a slave, but an equal partnership to the gods. But he's still, nonetheless, a different character and a different being than he was in 30K in the Siege and the Horus Heresy in general. You should not want them to be redeemed. It takes away from their character, and it just kind of destroys who they are. If Mortarion was brought back and you got rid of his whole, self-hypocrisy and self-loathing and his generalized, loner boy, aesthetic of, it's everyone's fault. I should have been War Master because I'm so cool and handsome and mysterious. Just destroys his character because now he's completely different. If you brought Magnus back, sure, you can make that argument for the shards, except I'm pretty sure most of the shards have already been round up and all the other good ones are kind of preoccupied right now or not in relevant stories. Do you get what I'm saying? Even Conrad, you wouldn't want him brought back because that defeats his whole character. That's like bringing Sanguinius back. I don't even really like Sanguinius that much, and I still would not want him to return to the setting, or Ferrus Manus, unless it was in some weird Legion of the Damned way. These characters are meant to be portrayed in a certain way for a reason. If you bring them back, you are just butchering the characters, and I personally, it's you're doing them, the novels, and maybe the authors to an extent, a little bit of a disservice, because there's a reason they're like that. Now here's the thing. You can definitely shit on characters for their attributes, for the way they're written, for inconsistencies. That's fine and all is well. So, perfect. But if you're going to say Perturabo should be brought back, no. Magnus, no. Logar, no. Mortarion, Fulgrim, no. Like, I don't know. Who else am I forgetting? Who else turned traitor? Alfarius is dead. Omegon is helping the Imperium, but this is a lie. You get what I'm saying? I can only say it so much in so many different ways. You really shouldn't want to bring them back. I think they're great the way they are. Sure, there might be some educated arguments, but you're on this channel, so this is all severely uneducated. I've only read, 25, 30 books? I'm still a pleb, man. I'm still learning. But you're getting the World Eater's perspective. Leave Angron alone. Leave them all alone. Let them suffer. Let them be miserable characters, because that's what makes them so appealing. If you fix them. I'm saying that super sarcastically, by the way. And bring them to the loyal side. That's a different character, and it's a different setting, and I think that's bullshit. I like that they're suffering. I like that all the Traitor Primarchs are actively and eternally suffering, except for Angron. He always deserved better. He never not deserved better. Free my boy Angron. Corn ain't got nothing on my friggin' warrior. Shout out Angron. But that being said again, long story short, leave the Traitor Primarchs alone. They're fine just the way they are. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. That's it. If you watched the whole video, guys, super appreciate it. And I will see you in a bit.